Hey, welcome to the Dreff and Stone podcast, a podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
You pointed at me and then you pointed at yourself.
Yeah, because you're Nick and I'm Kyle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pretty sure I got that in the right order.
You did. I think it was like because I said I'm Nick. Oh,
and I'm Kyle.
I see. I don't know why I'm confused.
Me neither, but you're getting me there too.
Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm even actually more confused.
Nailed it.
Yeah. How many times have we done this? Over 200 at this point.
Like 4 or 5.
No, this is Kyle. This is episode 201.
Wow.
I know.
201.
Yeah. So we've done this over 200 times.
Dang.
But guess what?
What?
We're gonna do it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we get started,
we
Kyle,
do enjoy doing it.
I enjoy it. I think there are people that enjoy it too.
Yeah, it's a great time.
You know what I want to do?
What's that?
I want to invite those people.
Yeah.
To come and drink along with us.
Yeah.
So
Find yourself a Glencairn.
Oh yeah. These ones are a little
fresh,
a little wet.
We just plucked these off the Glencairn tree.
And drink something along with us.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever it is you have. If you don't have a Glencairn, all you have is like one of those
Ice water. Sure.
Why not?
Yeah. A little Country Time lemonade.
Oh, why not? You got some Kool-Aid? We talked about Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. I got a buddy that really likes Kool-Aid in his vodka. Like they take a handle of vodka and pour Kool-Aid in it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
There are two ways to say this. Kool-Aid in your vodka or vodka in your Kool-Aid. Those mean two different
They mean Kool-Aid in their vodka. They literally take the handle of vodka and sprinkle the Kool-Aid.
You say.
Yeah, sprinkle. Like I don't know if it's a handle or if it's just like a 750, but
they take the powder.
And they just pour that into the vodka. And
that's kind of genius.
See you next week. Yeah. It is.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We kind of got to now I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'd probably rather do it with gin. Like not that I want to do it with a handle. Can you get a handle of gin? I don't know.
I don't know if you'd want to do it with gin.
What? Why not?
Well, gin's already got its own thing happening.
You
vodka's
neutral
they're doing this with Tito's.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah.
So neutral spirit.
Neutral spirit. Add in your own purple flavoring to it.
Get the clear flavor.
Yeah.
It's like, why is it cloudy?
Look like a grimace shake.
What does it say about me that I kind of want to try one?
I mean, I'm curious. Can't imagine it's anything I'm gonna be like, yep, that was worth it. I don't know how much I'm gonna spend on it.
More than you want to.
Probably $5. Yeah.
I'd try it for $5. I'd share. Like I think the play is like you buy one for the family.
Yeah,
like the whole family.
Everybody take a swig.
Yeah,
and turn into evil monsters.
Because
you seen that?
What?
Well, that's the play right now. That's the advertising scheme going around. Is like you take a sip of it and either like you turn into a monster or a monster like shows up or your head explodes, something like that. Like it's like as soon as you take a sip of it, something happens. It's like a horror film kind of a thing.
Huh?
The grimace shake. Yeah, I don't know.
This is marketed to. I mean, let's be honest.
I don't know that it's McDonald's approved marketing. I think it's just what people are doing. On the grams, the talks, and the
books,
social medias. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
So, what are we drinking this week, Kyle?
It looks like we're drinking some Bunnahabhain.
Yeah.
Bunnahabhain?
Yeah, the v, which makes no sense when you
I know.
You
What's
the
like,
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Bunnahabhain.
Gaelic. You
just kind of mumble over it.
Bye, Scotland. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
We love your whiskey.
See you later. Because everybody's like, actually,
and we're out.
No, the Scottish are probably like, no, that's exactly how we would do it too.
Say it also.
Just what Bunnahabhains do we got here?
Well, fun story.
Yeah,
we picked these up in our travels.
We did.
These are actually travel exclusive.
They are. Both of these bottles are.
Yeah.
These are liter bottles too.
I got mine in the UK over in London.
I did not get mine in the UK.
Where'd you get yours?
I got mine in the EU.
There you go.
Yeah, in Dublin.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep. A little whiskey shop down there in kind of like downtown Dublin called the Celtic Whiskey Shop. Where'd you get yours?
I got mine at the the duty free at the Heathrow Airport.
Oh, okay. Which actually makes sense because these are both travel exclusive. So I'm not exactly sure how my bottle is a travel exclusive, but it was in a whiskey shop, not in a duty free. Because when I think travel exclusive,
right,
I think like duty free.
It's got to be at the duty free.
Basically it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that happens.
Interesting.
But I do know that both of these are relatively difficult bottles to find.
Yeah. I mean, that's like kind of the assumption is that you have to be traveling.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, at your local liquor store.
Yeah.
Got to be out and about.
And we're doing this because this is part 2 of our summer travel episode.
Yeah, we didn't get to wrap that up the other day. We had a pressing tea time that we had to make.
We did.
Which we did.
We did make it, and we had a lovely round of golf.
Indeed.
It was great.
A lot of drinks.
A lot of great shots. I mean, not the drinks part, but, hitting the ball, actually.
Both.
But, yeah.
It was a good time. Yeah. So we didn't get to finish that up. Thought we should wrap that up, and I've been dying to get into these bottles.
Me too, because you've not opened yours, right?
Nope.
I haven't opened mine either. And we're both fans of Bunnahabhain.
Got to do it.
Shall we get into it?
Yes.
Which one you want to open first?
I don't care.
I
think we open them
at the same time.
What is yours?
What do you mean?
Pronounce it for me.
Okay. Do you want me to pronounce it how I think it's pronounced?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. How I think it's pronounced is Cruach Mhona.
Okay.
That's how
you pronounce it like Florida man.
Okay. Cruach Mhona.
There you go.
Yeah. So I don't know which one's right.
I know which one's wrong.
The Florida man one?
Both, probably.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you're right. Because I got this one out. I don't think yours is peated.
I wouldn't think so either.
We should probably actually start with yours because this one's peated.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
So let's start with pronounce that one for me.
I have the on Cladach.
Yeah. You got the easy pronunciation.
Yeah, I specifically picked out that one because I was like, I can pronounce that. Cork pop.
Beautiful.
We did it.
Now we got the on Cladach poured up. Kyle, you want to read some bottle words? Well, I think they're canister words.
I might read you some sleeve words. There are bottle words. It's probably all the same shiz, but it's in bigger font.
Yeah, well,
on the sleeve here. All right,
gotta get that bigger font.
Front label.
Yeah.
Sitting on the banks of Bunnahabhain Bay, our distillery guards its precious golden treasure. On Cladach, meaning the shore in Gaelic, is a limited edition complex malt with a rich sherry influence and aromas of fruits, nuts, and spice.
Fruits, nuts, and spice, you say? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Indeed.
There's a novel on the back of the can.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
The sea is an integral part of island life, nourishing the land's wildlife and inhabitants alike. However, the story isn't about the sea alone, but where it leads and what it inspires. Allowing trade and encouraging exploration, the sea has enticed many a wandering traveler to our shore. Our coastal distillery, tucked away in Bunnahabhain Bay, on the Isle of Islay, has been a haven for seafarers for centuries. Fares, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The waves race towards our pebbled beach, crashing against our warehouses, leaving their salty mark on the slumbering casks. This is where our explorers and our friends find a shore laden with liquid gold treasure.
Ooh.
This New World Traveler exclusive edition celebrates the adventurous, those brave enough to explore new lands, travel the world, and seek our new shores. Our forebears were rewarded with Bunnahabhain, the perfect shore to distill and mature this complex Islay malt. And because of all of our whiskeys are unchill filtered, you can experience on Cladach, the shore, in its true and natural form, sea salt and all.
That's why it's got chunky bits in it.
Chunky bits.
Yeah, just a little bit of chunky bits.
That's just straight up crystallized sea salt.
We got what was I going to say? ABV.
We got, I believe it's 50.
This one is too.
Yeah.
So they're both at 100.
50 right at 100.
Yeah. I like these big bottles, man.
Yeah, man. I was like super stoked when I pulled it out of the sleeve. Once I got home, I was like, oh, crap.
You didn't know.
I didn't realize I had a liter here.
See, I was very aware because I thought the Irish government and the American government were like, hey, you can only bring this much back. I was wrong. They didn't give a shit.
They didn't care.
They didn't care at all. But, I guess if I would have brought 50 bottles home, they might have done it.
Then they would be like, hey.
Yeah, a little too much, buddy.
Can you give me a bottle? And then we won't say.
It's light, man.
Golden.
Easy.
I believe was mentioned several times. And yeah, I mean, that's gold.
Straw water.
Sherry and, man, like briny.
Briny, yeah. Like seaweed. Yeah, there's some salty bits.
Yeah.
Like salted caramel bits.
Woo.
Shall we?
Man, yeah. That's cool.
On Cladach. You making out with your Glencairn over there?
Every time.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, that's
gosh,
honey,
but warm, like warmed honey. It reminds me of like almost like a hot toddy, like just like that warmed honey note, not the lemon part, just like the warmed honey.
Yep,
man.
Yep, got that sherry influence, which is so strange. Like my brain isn't able to like really like connect it because
What do you mean?
the color
Yeah, sure.
of the whiskey is not screaming that it's going to be sherry forward.
But it is wine forward.
But yeah, it's like just honey sherry wine.
There's a touch of like peppery though, like on the back end, especially like the back sides of my tongue.
Yep.
Man, it's like it's got a peppery palate.
Yeah, and it's coming forward.
Yeah.
The more I sip on it, the sweet is calming down now, and that peppery and a little bit of barrel is starting to come through.
The barrel. Yeah. 100%.
It's good.
Yeah. And it's the right proof because it doesn't like punch out at you. It just like eases you into it. This is what I love about buying a bunch of product from the same distillery, especially a distillery that I believe in. I've liked nearly all their products, if not all of them.
Right.
And then you start to like pick out the differences.
But all built from the same foundation.
Exactly.
It's so strange.
And I feel like, and we've talked about this, I think we've mentioned on the pod, or I know we talked about it off the pod a lot, but I feel like this is something that Scotch does so well that bourbon just hasn't figured it out yet.
I was telling a friend today about like how we were going to do this, how we were doing Bunnahabhain, and that being like one of, if not your favorite distillery, and that you've had at this point, what, 8, 9 different bottles, different variations.
Yep.
And it's such a fun thing that Scotch can do.
Yep.
That's a little bit more difficult for bourbon to do because bourbon is so rigid in its definition.
I had this exact same experience in Ireland of, okay, here's a base level distillate, and now let's just screw with it and see what happens.
Right.
Not only like our friend Dahi O'Connell, WD O'Connell, not only is he doing stuff like that, but like a bunch of Irish distilleries are doing that as well because they're following, with the likes of the Scotch distilleries. I don't know who did it first. Don't anybody write into us and be mad at us. Hey. But like it's just something that I actually don't think it's the distilleries for bourbon. I think it's the consumers. I don't think consumers are as ready for it.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
I mean, you have companies like Basil Hayden doing that, and every company is kind of trying to dip their toes in.
Right.
Great example is Chattanooga. I mean, those people,
those
dudes are doing
they do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
In like the best way.
Yeah.
So you do have people experimenting, but I just don't feel like the consumer is ready for it.
That was my exact comment, was like the reason that you don't see them do it more often is because I guess the response of when I was explaining that is like, why don't they do that? And I was like, well, because once you start screwing with it enough, they no longer can call it bourbon.
Yep.
And I think that for the consumer is just a little bit of a scary thing. So, well, what would they have to call it? I'd be like, they just have to call it whiskey, American whiskey, or whatever. But it just changes it enough.
And I think bourbon is elevated to such a status that when you say this is whiskey, people are like, oh, but it's not bourbon.
Yeah.
Like actually, most whiskey is not bourbon.
Correct.
So, I mean, figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
You got anything else for the Bunnahabhain?
Another fantastic. It's not surprising at all. I'm itching to get into the other one.
No, go ahead.
The Cruach Mhona. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. Here, I do.
Do you think it's going to like relate to Toe Touch or any of those?
I think it will.
Yeah,
I think it will.
Yeah.
Here's my problem though. This is fantastic. The on Cladach, and you have this bottle, and I don't have this bottle.
What's mine is yours.
What's yours is mine.
All right, we're very aware of that.
But that bottle's going home with you.
Right. There may be a few extra pours out of this bottle that make it into my belly.
I see what you're saying,
but
that's my only problem.
I know,
which is not really a problem.
It's a great problem to have.
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah,
drinking with friends. Come on, I'm gonna leave a little splash.
Yeah,
I mean, I know we got a whole bottle. We just talked about whatever. All right.
Yeah, we'll replenish.
So last week, Kyle, we talked about our travel experience. We kind of broke down where we were, how long we were there.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And we talked about some highlights.
Yep.
We talked about favorite food experiences.
Yep.
Did we talk about favorite experience overall?
Did I mention, did you go back?
I haven't.
Did I mention the stomach sandwich? I feel like I did.
I don't remember. And at this point, I haven't edited that episode yet. So
highlight it,
bring it
right now.
Sure.
Like Florence is known for this sandwich.
Yeah.
It's a cow's stomach sandwich. Like, it's just using all bits of the buffalo. And I had seen so many videos about this thing, and I love I love me some entrails. Like I really do. Like I'm just nasty like that.
No, I think that's the right way to do it.
Well, I love that kind of stuff.
Me
like,
too.
That's I was raised on Viner wieners, and that's just the way I like it.
Livers and onions every day.
So I knew right off the bat, like I've got to find that.
Yeah.
And went to the market in Florence, and like literally the first stall right when you walk through the door on the right, boom. These guys like they're fixing them up right there, and they have a glass of wine ready for you to go to pair with it. And I did that and liked it so much. Went again the next day.
Wow.
Had another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had it. I don't know if it was stomach necessarily, but it was some sort of offal. That's the term. Not AWF. I think it's OFFAL. Oh. I think that's the
like
entrails.
waffle without the W. Awful.
Sure. No. Anyway, this was in a trapezoidal, I think it's called. And it's basically like a corner of the pizza. Like if you had a square pizza, and it's like a pizza pocket. And man, there is some entrails in there with some salsa verde.
Yeah.
This was in Rome, and Carol and I crossed the river into the Trastevere neighborhood.
Right.
And holy crap, man. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in this thing. I probably don't want to know, but it was like, what? That is fantastic. It's pizza sandwich, basically.
Right.
Super good.
Yeah. You just made my brain go to a crazy place of like, I'm totally right there. Of like, I probably don't want to know, but like when it's on the counter,
sure.
I don't care at all.
No.
Like I'll look at that stuff. I'll stare at that stuff. Like but there is a point where I don't want to see it. Like there is a point in that process of getting it from said cow.
I see what you're saying.
To that point that there is a moment in that where it's just like, okay, now we're past that.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I think I do. I think for me, it's not that I don't want to know, because I would like, you're not going to gross me out.
Oh no, I'm fine knowing
Right.
what it is, where it came from, how you got it. It'd just be like, for me personally,
I see.
If I were like in the room where it happened,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a point where it's just like, oh,
I guess
that's
I guess for me it's more like preparation. Like I'm totally fine if you're like, hey, this is an eyeball of a blah blah blah. I'm
Sure.
like, okay, but I don't want to prepare that thing.
yeah, no,
like,
but it's like me watching that get out, that eyeball being
Correct.
removed from the skull, and then all, there it is.
what's is it?
That was in there tighter than a Bunnahabhain cord.
Which is not
Not in
true.
there at all.
Yeah,
That's very true.
yeah.
That thing was
The first
in there
one, the
tighter.
first one.
The eyeball is in there tighter than a Bunnahabhain
yeah,
cord.
absolutely. Is it Temple of Doom where she scoops out? No, that's monkey brains. He scoops out monkey brains.
No, they do have a soup that has eyeballs in it.
Okay, I thought
but they're
so.
like the dessert is like basically like Jello in a monkey skull.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
It was supposed to be a lot worse, that scene.
Was it?
And like when the movie first came out, I just watched this the other day. Like there was the Indian government was like, y'all can't do that.
rightly so.
Why? Yeah. What are you doing? And it ended up being allowed just because, like, I guess at the time or whatever, like they explained it as like, oh no, this is clearly ridiculous. We're not saying that this is what your cuisine is. This is them trying to screw with the Americans in the thing. I don't really think it reads that way.
No,
and I
I
definitely
don't think so
remember
either.
being a child and be like, they eat some crazy shit.
Yeah, I do too.
And like kind of like,
I'm not going
no,
there.
I'll never eat Indian food. No
now
chance.
it's like a staple. Like I freaking love Indian food.
Right, yeah,
Like,
for sure. Give me that naan.
Yeah.
All day, baby.
Yeah, give me some of that. All right,
go.
Did we talk about experiences? I feel like we did. Highlights.
Perhaps?
Yeah, because you said about
I did. I think I said about swimming in the waters. At Santorini, and
a couple other questions surrounding this 3-week sojourn that we've just basically returned from.
Right.
What could you have spent more time doing?
Easy for me is we stayed at an Airbnb when we were in France. That was just outside. It was like basically halfway from like Paris Central and Versailles.
Sure.
The little town, little village that we stayed in was Villa d'Avray.
Okay.
And we were obviously like going into Paris every day. It wasn't that long. It was only like a we'll say a half hour. Took us from like
a train ride?
leaving the door
Gotcha.
at the Airbnb to arriving to said destination in Paris. It only took us about a half hour to get into the city. And we had to like walk a good 10 minutes to a train station, get on a train, switch trains, get onto a different train, and then boom, we're there. Every time that we walked down that hill or walked back up that hill, I remember looking around and thinking like this little area looks super cute.
Yeah.
But we left no time to explore that little town. We were supposed to have arrived the day that we got to Paris like 3 hours earlier than what we did. And there would have been a little bit of a time there that we could have. We actually had reservations at a restaurant that would have allowed us to walk around a little bit. But I do regret not getting out and seeing more of that specific area.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that happened quite a few times of I would have liked to have experienced that a little bit longer. And I think that's just going to be every vacation you ever take in your life. You know?
And I deal with that of like, man, I could have done this longer, but if I did do it longer, would I still have liked that thing?
Or I think we've both had experiences, say, in like New York City.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, I've been here too long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever do that, but it's also like a fine balancing act.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of two things, because I almost view this, as we talked about last week, I almost view this trip as like, for me, like Italy, cruise, Ireland.
Right.
That's how it was.
Yeah, it was very broken up.
Very broken up for me. So like for me in Italy and Rome, I could have spent more time just visiting these little, so in Rome specifically, they call them enotecas, and they're like little wine bars, and they're wine shops. You can get like a light meal. Some of them actually have like restaurant type stuff.
Right.
And Carol and I went to this one that was like, the dude was super, he was clearly like trying to do the sommelier kind of thing, and like that's what he was, but he was like super accommodating, asked us a bunch of questions, said like, you know, can I give you some funky wines? Like, sure. I think we talked about that last week. I could have spent more time doing that, like visiting those little shops and like just sitting on the street corner and drinking wine and watching people, because like that was just fantastic.
Yeah.
We did a good amount of that, but I could have done more. Just like, here's a glass of wine and just watch people.
Yeah.
And Rome, I think, is primed for that, because Rome, you have such a confluence of tourists and locals, like any major city.
Right.
But like, it's almost hard to figure out who is who. I mean, you can kind of spot like locals because they're just beelining at places.
Right.
But like, just watching people. We did that a couple times. Like, we got a glass of wine in Piazza Navona and just like hung out and watched people, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I probably could have done that more. For me in Ireland, I would have liked to see more of Ireland. I mean, we saw a good amount, but like traveling through like the Wicklow Mountains, which are south of Dublin, man, I sent you pictures.
Right.
Like it literally looks like every movie set you've ever seen. Like it's fan-fucking-tastic.
That old Windows 95 background that was like the starter screen for every computer.
I was like,
just gorgeous green, like rolling hills.
It was storybook, man.
Yeah.
And I could have just, like, we were kind of on a mission, so you're trying to get from point A to point B, and I was trying not to kill us on these like small little Irish roads too. So like, Carol's like, God, this thing is so beautiful. I'm like, I know.
Are you sure you're not on the sidewalk?
Oh my God,
this is a tiny little road. I think you're on the sidewalk.
So, you know, part of it's like me looking at stuff and like, don't die. Me like, oh, sheep, don't die. So like, that's what it was. But man, I could have easily spent another 3 or 4 days in those mountains.
Yeah, just chilling.
Just beautiful.
With a bottle of whiskey.
Or just a pint of never-ending Guinness. Yeah. Because it does taste better in Ireland.
Yeah.
For sure. We went to this little, it's a pub restaurant in the mountains, like outside of like a half hour south of Dublin. And it's a big kind of tourist destination, but we sat outside and we drank a couple pints just sitting outside looking at the mountains, and like, man,
it's awesome. Fantastic. When you see those things that are like, oh no, we found this place, or we saw this like Instagram of this place, and then you actually go there and it lives up. Like, that's the best.
Yeah.
Because like I've definitely had it both ways.
For sure.
Get to the thing and it's like, oh, this got Instagrammed. It doesn't really feel that way.
Which brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
Did you plan this? This is a perfect segue.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
But when you do the thing and it actually like lives up to the hype, you're like, wow.
So what for you was the biggest disappointment? Like in terms of things that you experienced in that way?
Of that just didn't live up to the hype?
Yep.
I don't really know that I had anything that was like that disappointing in that way. I think I had built up, I mean, controversial, but I think I had built up Florence in my head.
Sure.
Of it being one thing and it wasn't that thing.
Right.
So it was a little bit disappointing in that way of like, Florence is not the easiest city to get around in with luggage. Neither is Rome. Rome's quite difficult also. Like, it's all cobblestone everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
But I just remember, like, arriving in Florence was tough, and it's just, I think just because it doesn't have quite the same magnitude as Rome, that once you're into the historic center, it's very similar to Rome. But its historic center is much smaller than Rome. Like, I mean, Rome, you can stretch it from the Vatican to the Colosseum, and everything in between is kind of epic. Yeah. Like, just everywhere you're walking around looking and
I would
stuff
say,
like that.
as far north, and I don't know if you've ever gone up that far, but like Villa Borghese, like that's...
We drove through Park Borghese. This last time, and we had never been up in that area. We
a tour that we did, and I only mention this because like that historic center, a tour we did was in some catacombs, which was fantastic outside of the city. And I would say like even then, like we were a good maybe 15 minutes out, like from the Pantheon, 15, 20 minutes out from the Pantheon. It was still like
walking or...
No, it was definitely like you had to take a taxi. Okay. Or ours was like a bus, and we did a tour. Yeah. Ours was a bus, and like you're passing all these things that are like just historic shit. Right. So it's interesting that Florence wasn't that.
Yeah, no, it was just the outskirts of it. And we stayed a little bit further out. It was actually like a very pleasant walk in. Good. But I feel like the Duomo is the Duomo. Sure. And when you're right there, that's as cool as it gets anywhere. I mean, it's like walking up to the Eiffel Tower for the first time. It's epic. It's crazy. It's amazing. I just, now understanding Florence the way that I do, I had it built up a different way. Sure. It had gotten very Instagram glossened in my head. Yeah. And it is the perfect city for that. Honestly. I can see it. Like, because like it's one of those things of like, my highlights are fucking amazing. Yep. And we don't need to show you the other stuff. Yeah. And it's just kind of that way.
You know, Carol found that kind of too in Rome, of like all these restaurants. Like all these restaurants that are like Instagram and whatever worthy restaurants. You actually look up these restaurants and their food, and it's like, nah, it's super touristy. Like, you're going to have a good experience, but like there are better places to get that exact dish. Right. So like, I forget the name of the restaurant, but like it's a place where like you have to get the Alfredo, and it's like, I guess it's like birthplace of Alfredo, and there's like 4 or 5 different places under the same name. They're all connected, obviously, but like you start looking up the reviews of it. It's like, yeah, Instagram has done ruined this place, kind of thing.
Milan is also very similar. Yeah, Milan was like, we weren't there as long, so I don't feel like it was as disappointing because we were only there for a day. Yeah. It was actually far worse than Florence. Like, again, my highlights are amazing, but we only went to see one highlight. Sure. And then beyond that, it was just kind of like, even like walking around that city was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of disappointing.
We did the thing.
Yeah. How about for you guys?
The Colosseum. Like, hands down. Yeah. Yeah. And like, it was cool because you're like, wow, this is the Colosseum. Right. But like, it was disappointing. We had a really bad tour experience. Right. Like the person leading
I feel like that's the unfortunate thing. Like, I could say the same thing about the Mona Lisa and the last time that I went, and it was just a bad day for it.
It was a bad day for it. Like, it was I mean, Rome, if you don't know, I mean, you know, but like listeners, if you don't know, Rome's freaking hot. Yeah. Like, it's brutal hot. So that day it was warm, and it was kind of slightly rainy. And our tour guide was just
the worst.
Yeah, there's a lot other words that I'll tell you later, but like she was terrible, and like that added to it. But honestly, like, it was, hey, look at this old building. This happened here. Isn't it cool? And then going like, huh, okay. And it was kind of a letdown. Only because, and I think it's like building up in your mind too, of like, no, this is the Colosseum. And you get there and you're like, that is the Colosseum.
But that part right there, y'all have clearly reconstructed.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
And like actually, there's a fair amount of the Coliseum that's been reconstructed.
Right.
And had we had a better tour experience, I might feel differently. Because for me, the building's the building. Like it's cool as shit, but it's the building.
Yeah.
I want to know the stories behind that.
Right.
And I honestly, like, to some degree, don't care if you're bullshitting me. Just like tell me some cool stories.
Right.
And then that's gonna make that thing come alive. Because history, to me, like, I love history, but history is not dates, and history is not buildings, and history is not battles.
Right.
It's the stories of those dates, of those buildings, and of those battles, and of those kind of things. That's what makes history.
Right.
So not being able to really experience that, and like, I know you've been in the Coliseum, even like the way it's set up to me is just done in a way to get as many people through this building as possible.
Sure.
Not like most of the museums in Rome are like, pause, look at this thing. You can spend as much time here as you want.
Right.
And to be fair, you can spend as much time in the Coliseum as you want, but it's set up so it's like a constant movement through it. And
in lava melting heat.
Yeah. And it wasn't great. So then, from there you go to the Palatine Hill, at least our tour did, and like at that point it started raining, so we took a detour in Albuquerque and walked around our ass, and like it was terrible.
Right.
It was a good story, but yeah, just the Coliseum as a whole. Like, the walk to me from we kind of stayed in the Pantheon area.
Mm-hmm.
The walk to the Coliseum was far more interesting than the Coliseum itself.
Right.
Because you've been down that road, like you're walking through what is old Rome.
Yeah.
And they also have these like really cool statues of or a lot of the Caesars as you're kind of walking down this like one main thoroughfare.
Right.
And it's freaking cool.
Yeah.
But Coliseum, I'm good.
We didn't even make it all the way over to the Coliseum this time. Like we got to the Forum.
Yeah.
We walked around there a little bit. We got to that road that you're talking about, like back behind the wedding cake.
Yeah.
The Parliament.
I forget what it is. Yeah.
But that was as far as that way. Like we could see it. We could see the Coliseum, but we didn't walk all the way over there to it. But yeah, I mean the first time that we did it, we got to do it at night.
Yeah.
Did a night tour.
Yeah.
Which was great because they also at night they do a lot of projection stuff. So like they'll be like they'll have like animals, like shadows. So it looks like there's animals walking down that corridor.
That's
like they
cool.
would have gone with sound effects and stuff like that. And then there was like a movie that we were able to watch like in the middle of the Coliseum, like that I think did a lot of the things that you're saying.
And I think like
And I totally get that.
that's part of the, if I knew then what I know now, how I would do things differently.
Right.
Like it's part of all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. Before we continue with kind of our experiences, we got another.
I know, and I'm so ready to try this.
Okay, me too.
Let's do it.
You ready?
So ready.
Oh,
It's the biggest thing we can say about Bunnahabhain. It's the only slam we got against him. Your
like
corks suck. Get you better cork. Oh.
one for you, sir. Ain't nothing like a fresh bottle pour. All right, so I've got, Kyle, for us. I already poured it up, but this is the what I say, the Cruach Mhona.
Yep.
Yep. You want me to read you some stuff?
Yeah.
This is Gaelic for Pete Stack.
Pete Stack.
That's my nickname in college. The Cruach Mhona is a limited edition malt with strong notes of peat and smoke. I read that backwards. Hints of burning grass, hay, and sweet herbs burst into flavors of malt, nuts, fruit, white pepper, seaweed, peat smoke, and sea salt. This is a product of Scotland. I'm going to read you some canister notes too. I threw it on the floor. Let me grab it.
It's right between. There it is.
That's pretty good. You ready?
Yep.
Settle in. Here we go. On the remote and magical Isle of Islay, peat has long played a crucial role in the lives of the islanders. It would be cut and left to dry in a Cruach Mhona, meaning peat stack in English, and these skillfully sculpted features were once a common sight on the island. The smell of burning peat would have been an integral part of the island, just as it's a core characteristic of this distinctive limited edition malt. We carefully sourced strongly peated malted barley and left the liquid slowly maturing in hand-chosen casks until it was ready for bottling in this small batch release. And because we don't chill filter, Cruach Mhona is a pure and powerful. Cruach Mhona, it's pure and powerful, just as nature intended. It's got some tasting notes in that.
God, I had like 4 paragraphs.
I had 1.
Okay.
But it was a long one.
Yeah.
Again, travel retail exclusive, and it is 100 proof. Color.
Shade darker than the Uncladic.
I'm interested that they don't give us any sort of age statement at all. And maybe it's because they're blending, but like you couldn't give me nothing. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me that's Bunnahabhain.
That might be the peatiest Bunnahabhain I've ever smelled in my life.
Yeah, I feel like if I
Holy crap.
if I really dig for it, I can start to feel like there's the base.
Wow, that thing is like freaking peaty.
If you just threw that at me and said, "What is it?"
I would never say Bunnahabhain.
Yeah, no, I'm going.
Oh my god. Like,
Ardbeggy?
I would say Ardbeg. Not quite Lefroy, because Lefroy is like deep, dark, and brooding.
Well, but not the color.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, like it is like, it's not that medicinal.
Sorry, not Lefroy. I meant Lagavulin.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Lefroy is like peat. No, this is quite possibly the peatiest Bunnahabhain I've ever had on the nose. Like, and what's cool about this peat is it lingers. It's a linger peat.
I mean, it's still there.
It's like that peat that you're like, hey, you're still here? How many days you been here?
Pete, dude.
You overstayed.
The party was over.
I don't think he can. Pete can't overstay his welcome, but he can just.
No, you're happy for him to be there, but it's just like, damn.
You're here a minute.
You haven't even showered.
And we smell you. Wow. And it's just, it's like peat. And then underneath the peat, there's this really nice, like warm honey richness. But you just,
and there's a beautiful bit of malt.
Floral too.
Yeah.
All right. So now the peat's starting to dissipate.
Malt.
Just a little bit. All right. I'm ready. You ready?
Yep.
Going in. Oh, buddy. Whoa.
Damn.
That thing is campfire.
Yeah, it is. Whoa.
Woo. I'm glad we made the decision to go on Cladach first.
Yeah, that was the call. That would have been unfortunate. Man, it's like ashy.
That's
punchy.
Whoa.
In like the best way.
Whoa. That is unlike a Bunnahabhain that I've had.
Man,
like, that is,
you know what this is?
That is insane.
This is what I feel like I always want Lagavulin to taste like. But Lagavulin doesn't give you this kind of peat.
You're not wrong.
You know, it's like I just ate I accidentally had a piece of a steak that like fell off.
Yeah.
And it was there, and then like after I got everything off, it's like just char. And it like just lingers. That bitter just lingers so long.
But there's also this like really beautiful brine note. Like salt. It's like it's like you made a campfire with driftwood that's been like out there in the elements for a bit.
Yep.
Man. Not that I've done that, by the way, but you know.
Man.
Wow.
It's hard to think of anything that I've ever had that the peat lingers that long. Usually like it's
still after several sips.
Yeah, it's still the highlight.
Yeah. But now that I've acclimated to peat a bit, buddy, there's this like white pepper, just freshness that it's spicy in like a very peppery, like a pepper steak kind of way, but like white pepper. So it's not, it's not like earthy, but it's like just pepper. Earthy in peat, but not earthy in pepper.
It's something I don't feel like I've really have paid a lot of attention to, but this is dry.
Yeah.
It's really leaving my palate dry.
Dry is right.
So interesting. Gosh dang you, Bunnahabhain.
That's tough because
things you do to me.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, you already did it.
I did it.
You already did it. Okay.
Yeah. Go back to Cladach real quick.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just go back real quick. Obviously, the peat just like wipes out a lot of like the notes of the Cladach, but to me, there's something that like the peat on your palate changes the Cladach, and actually, I think it makes it better.
It makes it spicy.
It does.
Woo.
Man, that is
Yeah, makes it like ooh, like hot wing spicy.
Go back to the Cruach Mhona real quick, and like still peat on the palate. That is unusual because normally peat subsides. That thing, damn, ain't subsiding.
Poseidon. Those are. Wow. We got to go back just to get more of this. Like what a fascinating pairing.
Yeah,
they complement each other so well.
So well. Wow. See, and that's the problem when like you travel abroad and you're whiskey nerds, is you're like, I want to bring it all home.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, I guess, if you really wanted to, but
yeah, if you're that guy.
Yeah. Okay. We want to talk about things that we learned. Okay. And I think this could be broken down into 3 sections.
Okay.
Things that you learned about yourself, things that you learned about travel and things that you learned about other people.
Whew.
Yeah. Okay. Something that you learned about yourself through this travel experience. Because that's who we are. Reflective, thinking about who we are. What did you learn about yourself?
Oh, man. Why don't you lead the way?
Okay. For me, I learned that I am, like, I worry too much. And I knew that before, but, like, I worried about making a situation or making this travel experience, like, just the best that I could.
Sure.
And so, like, our first 2 days, like, I was so worried about having a good travel experience that I actually wasn't experiencing the travel.
Right.
So, like, I learned that I need to like, I've done all the planning. I need to trust that I've done the planning correctly.
Right. Just let the trip happen.
I need to let the trip happen.
Right.
And I realized that, actually, Carol helped me realize that about 2 or 3 days in. And she's like, you need to stop. This is going to be a good experience. Just let
even
the
if we don't
happen.
do anything.
Yeah, let the thing happen. And, like, when I stepped back and I went, oh, she's totally right.
You're probably right.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a good call. Like, I was able to let that go. What about you?
So I don't really know that I could say that there was anything like this trip, for the most part, was a bit of a carbon copy of a trip that we've already done. So I don't think it didn't provide me any of those deeper, insightful things about myself that I feel like I really pulled a lot out of this trip.
Okay.
Specifically. Like, I mean, certainly before, like, I think there are those elements of, like, when you do a big trip like this and, you survive it and you come out the other side of it, there's a lot of, like, man, like, we did it. Like, we did that thing. We found our way around there. Like, we didn't get lost. Like, we did the thing. And, like, I definitely remember, like, feeling that the first time. But, like, we definitely went into this trip with a lot of confidence of,
well, you had that experience. Exactly. You knew enough. Sure.
Certainly I think you learn a lot of those same lessons of don't always fall for the Instagram thing or stuff like that, or kind of like a be patient kind of a thing. And, like, kind of like what you're saying of, like, let things come to you. Like, I remember one day in Rome, one morning, like, I had woke up and was ready and showered and everything and was ready to go do some stuff. But, like, we, in our group, we had a much larger group. So getting everybody on the same page and ready to go was a rare occurrence to happen. So once I was ready, I just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to go find a cup of coffee and a croissant somewhere, and I'm going to sit down and have breakfast. And I texted you, and, like, y'all were already kind of, like, in a similar state. I remember, like, I went to this place over here and it had a line 2 miles long. I went over to this place over there and they had a mile that was 2 miles long. And, like, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if I'm going to find the right situation. And, like, we had decided to meet up in front of the Pantheon. And I walked over there and, like, found a little side street, found a little cafe, found the perfect little table, sat down, probably had, like, the best cup of coffee that I had on vacation right there.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of one of those lessons of, like, just be patient. Like, you get antsy. And you want the thing to be right there when you want it, and sometimes it's not, and you just have to kind of allow that to wash over.
Yeah. So the next, what did you learn about other people? I'll start.
Jump in.
Okay. For me, it was, we as Americans are terrible at trying to communicate with other people. And what I mean by this is, like, almost everywhere in America, maybe albeit, like, big cities, but even then there's this, like, American perspective of, you speak our language, we're not going to communicate with you.
Right.
And something that I learned about other people, especially in Italy and Greece, is that other people are willing to, first of all, learn another language, in this case English, in order to communicate with us as the Americans, and that they're so ready and willing to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I made every effort I could to, speak in my Italian. I know it's broken Italian. I knew that going in, and I did my best effort. And once the Italian people in Rome, in Florence, and even the people that we met in Greece, like, once I made that initial effort, I did my best, then they went, this guy is making an effort and we're going to do the thing.
Right.
And, like, what was communication, like, 100% perfect? No. But you just kind of go into those travel situations knowing that. But it was also, like, I never was in a situation where I could not communicate and I didn't get roughly the thing I wanted. I mean, like, sure, there were some situations where, like, I thought I was getting this thing and I got something else. Like
Right.
you've mentioned that before.
Sure.
And it was still a great situation.
Yeah. How mad at a bologna loaf salad can you really get mad at?
Well, like I had one.
Don't let that ruin the fact that you're in this gorgeous city.
Sure.
Get over yourself.
Well, like it's just something small, and not on the level of bologna loaf salad, but like we were in Sorrento, and I asked, or what I thought I was ordering was a spinach and sausage calzone, and that's
it was broccoli.
And it was
wasn't
broccoli. It was broccoli.
It was supposed to be broccoli, wasn't it?
And that's right. It was supposed to be broccoli and a sausage, and it was spinach and sausage, and I was like, well, dang.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Shit. Send it back.
Because I like spinach too. So like,
send the chef out.
And it was just I don't know if it was a translation thing. I don't know what it was, but I was totally good with it. But, it's all about just trying to be accommodating and them trying to be accommodating with you. And it's a two-way street. And like also knowing going into those situations, like I am the foreigner here.
Yeah.
I am not the one that can, demand a bunch of things.
Right.
Or like ask a bunch of questions that, the answers I'm going to get are not going to be satisfactory to me. So like, why would I be frustrated?
Right.
So like learning about other people is just like, we want to help each other accomplish a goal. Like you guys want to serve and to be paid and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I want food. We have a common goal here. So things like that.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening. And to me, it made me fall more in love with wanting to learn other languages I'm not saying like be fluent and proficient, but just enough to like, I've made an effort. Can we meet halfway?
Yeah. Like, I mean, as far as like languages things, like it surprises me that there's not more of a specific, like everybody I know has heard of Duolingo. And
Sure.
like Duolingo is great in terms of like helping you get introduced into a language.
Right.
But it does surprise me that there's not, and there absolutely probably is, and I'm probably totally just ignorant of it. But like have a travel specific thing. Hey, if you're going to Rome, here's some like do the same thing, and we're still gonna like have the interactive aspect of it and the here translate this sentence kind of a thing, but like break it down into like very specific of these kinds of questions,
right?
Or this is how you order this
thing. And I think that like for me, the onus was on me as the individual, knowing I'm primarily traveling to Italy, Rome specific.
Right.
Like that's primarily where I'm traveling to. So like I need to be cognizant of Rome. Like how do I order the coffee that I want in Rome?
Right.
Because while obviously it's fairly standard, like it might be a little different.
Yeah.
Or, ordering supli versus arancini. And like, those are roughly the same thing, but they're also very different.
Right.
So like just knowing some of that too.
And at the same time, like it was almost as rewarding when you would order something and then they would start talking to you in the language and you're like, whoa,
yeah,
that's all I had.
Yeah. Right.
You've already lost.
I had that experience like literally day 2.
Yeah.
Like Carol and I went to a coffee shop.
Right.
And I went in and I ordered, so in Rome, I don't know if it's in the rest of Italy, but there's a coffee shakerato, which is basically espresso with a little bit of sugar shaken in ice. So it's kind of ice. So I was trying to get Carol an iced coffee. That was the best approximation I could figure out.
Right.
So like I sought this place out. We went there. I ordered this and like some dude at the counter is like, because I called it a shock. I forget how I pronounced it. He's like, no. He pronounced it another way. And the lady behind the counter was like, oh, okay. So she makes it, comes over to me and starts like just rattling off a bunch of Italian. And I knew what she was saying, basically like, hey, I know you're not Italian. Where are you from?
Right.
And I said, America.
Florida.
And she said, where in America? And I said, Florida. And she's like, oh, that's really good. Your Italian is pretty good. And I said, I only speak a little. And it went all downhill from there because she's like talking to me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Grazie.
And like, then she switched to English and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And Carol had this like, wow, that was a whole conversation. I was like, yeah, cool. I only understood about 20% of it, but I understood the words that I needed to understand.
Yeah.
So, which gave me a new appreciation for people here trying to speak English. And I recognize like how impatient Americans are specifically with other people trying to speak English.
Right.
And like that gave me almost a new appreciation of like, how can I help that person.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like on a daily basis.
For sure.
And you learn, especially like, I think you're right. I think from seeing it on both sides, it does like change and alter the way that you try to communicate with those people. And it's like, it becomes very one word.
Yeah.
And like, you just need to know a word to help kind of guide,
bridge that gap.
thing.
Yeah.
Don't respond with, well, you know what's actually probably the best thing for you to do is actually, if you'll just follow this thing right over here and then turn around and go find out.
No,
they're already lost because they don't understand any of those words. It's just, very just simple one word answers to things.
Speak. And like, I almost wanted to learn how to say, speak to me as a child. Like, just tell me like the base simplest thing you can tell me.
Right.
And like, even asking for directions, if someone's trying to ask me something, they can point something out on a map or point something out. And like, I don't know. I think like through that experience, I want to be more like accommodating, like, okay, this person is trying to communicate. We're each, we're both people.
We're going to sit here until we figure it out.
Figure it out together. Right.
But we don't need to, we're not in a hurry.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
What'd you learn about travel as a whole?
A big takeaway for me was certainly like, I'm already kind of noticing it at this point, being back now a couple of weeks, of try not to repeat yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a tough thing because like you go to these places and you love that place. You can't wait to go back. And certainly, or I guess maybe more the bigger thing is kind of like, all right, well, do your best to do other things.
Right.
It's okay to go back to the same place, but make sure you do other things. Like, I think we were able to do that for the most part. Like when we were in London, we went to the Seven Dials area.
Yep.
And it was just freaking adorable. Like, absolutely loved that area. Should have spent way more time over there. And unfortunately, like we were with a bunch of people who had never done any of these locations. So we felt like we still did a lot of the same things. And those just didn't have the same kind of impact. Right. Whereas, like, there was one day in Paris where the rest of our traveling group needed to stay at the Airbnb for the day and just chill. And we still went into the city, and everything that we did that day was something new.
Yeah.
Fantastic day in Paris. Like, it was epic. Like, loved it. Had great food, great experiences. We'll never forget that day. And I think that's a lot of it, of, like, just even if you've already done the thing, try not to, like, replicate it exactly.
Exactly. For me, it was, I learned a lot about like movement, and I wanted to give, in these travel days, I wanted to give us enough time to get from one place to another because I didn't really know what to expect. And I think like what my goal was is to do kind of a singular big thing each day. So like we did the Colosseum one day, we did the Vatican another day, but like I scheduled all those things for morning. And I think I actually should have scheduled them for like afternoon, evening. Right. I think that would have been better. And my thought process was schedule them for morning because time differences, your morning is going to be like late afternoon for you. But it's almost like for us,
right?
Because of how time works. But it's almost better to like schedule it so that you're going to sleep in the morning kind of thing. Because for us waking up, 10 a.m. their time, it's actually what? I think I actually just said that backwards. If we wake up at 10 a.m. Rome time, it's like 3 a.m. our time.
Right.
So it's brutal. So I should have scheduled it the other way. Like my thought process was just get in there and like just suffer the consequences. But I think I should have done it the other way.
Yeah. It can have its rewards both ways. Like a lot of times it's like quieter, not as much going on, kind of a thing, or beat the heat kind of a situation.
Absolutely.
Can be the case. But there also is a lot to be said to sleeping in, going and grabbing a cup of coffee, chilling out for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's go fight the crowds.
But I think like also what I learned about travel in terms of like literal travel is that you don't need super long layovers. Like if you can prevent a 6-hour layover, you probably don't need a 6-hour layover.
Right.
And I made some travel days where we had some big layovers because I was worried about time. I was worried about, movement from one place to another, which maybe is just being super conservative. Like I wouldn't do a 45-minute layover, but like a couple of hours, I think maybe 4 hours max, that gives you a good cushion of time.
Yeah.
And if something happens outside of that, that's probably out of your control anyway.
Right.
So I learned that.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more question before we kind of make some final decisions about our Bunnahabhains here.
Yep.
What did you miss from home when you were on this vacation? Anything?
I mean, you certainly you miss comfort. We were like that. That would be like if I had another big takeaway lesson learned from traveling this time. It would certainly be stretch it out.
Yeah.
Our routine on this trip was basically every third day was a travel day, moving somewhere else. So we would get to a place, be there for 2 days, and then move to the next place, be there for 2 days, move to the next place. And it was tough. So like just that chaos for basically 2 weeks was tough. But, at no point in time, like we absolutely adored our Airbnb in Paris. We didn't spend more than a few hours at a time, awake anyway, at that place. Same thing in Rome. We loved that Airbnb. Didn't spend much time in that Airbnb other than to just sleep in it. So it's like you don't need to plan every minute. Slow down, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
But I do think like just the being on your couch, being in your bed, being in your shower, sitting on your toilet, like it's just those kinds of things of like those comforts of just being at home.
Yep.
Certainly.
Yeah.
You start to miss that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think it was like a level of familiarity. Like I don't have, like, not everything's a struggle at home. Like I can roughly time out, like it's going to take me about this long to get this place, or I can, reasonably expect it to be this long at this thing. So I think like that I missed of like knowing the elements of time.
Right.
But also things like, just like some minor things, not that I'm a huge ice person, but like a lot of places in the rest of the world, ice is not a thing. Here in America, ice is a thing. Yeah. Like it's kind of unusual not to get ice. And I take it for granted because like I just expect ice here in America.
Right.
But like, just little things like that. And I don't want to say like I missed it because I don't know if I actually did, but it was one of those like, wow. Huh.
Well, you've become accustomed to it. And
exactly.
So the absence of it is jarring.
Right.
Not necessarily that it's like I've got to have that thing.
Right.
It's just like I'm used to having it.
Yeah. Exactly. And
it's like a kid's blanket.
Sure.
You don't have to have that.
Right.
You don't need that. It's just it's always been there.
I think another thing, like especially in Italy, was public restrooms. Like we are spoiled in America. That like public restrooms are a thing. Like it's very easy to get a bathroom. In Italy, it's not difficult, like if you're going into a restaurant or that kind of thing, but like, in a train station. Here in America, in a train station, like you just walk into a bathroom. Like it's not going to be great bathroom.
Yeah, it's going to be wrecked.
But it's a bathroom.
Yeah.
In Italy, it's, you pay 50 cents euro or whatever, and there's a bathroom. So I totally understand it, but it's like that, just that small little thing. It's not a complaint. It's just like kind of
just a difference.
Yeah, just a difference.
I don't know that I missed that. I don't know that I could say that I missed that.
Yeah.
As long as you had the cash on hand to be able to use it.
Correct.
I kind of appreciated it because it's not like there's any riffraff going on in there. And there's usually like an attendant keeping it up, so it's much tidier.
Sure.
Whereas you go into a public restroom
here it's like,
it could be an experience. You might be walking out of there with something.
I've been in the gas station once or twice.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess here's another thing. Like in Ireland, we were moving from one place to another, and Carol and I both had to use the bathroom, and there was not a bathroom. And like we went to 2 different gas stations, thinking like we could pop in, use the restroom.
Where do you use it? Gas station attendant?
Yeah, I was not in a state where I could communicate that without being an asshole.
Oi.
So, what was that?
Oi.
Australian?
G'day, mate. Gotta drain me kangaroo.
You want to wrap us up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, paper.
What do you need? Oh, wrapping. Got it. All right. So as we wrap us up, we've got 2 Bunnahabhains here. Can you make some decisions? They're
Sure.
dramatically different.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's part of the problem. But of these two, which one would you rather?
It would just depend on the situation.
I don't disagree.
Like, there's nothing wrong with either one of them. It would more or less just depend, like, do I want something smoky or not?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're both absolutely fantastic. I will have a wonderful time pairing these against a dozen other drinks to see like where they land, because I think they could hold their own with just about anything.
So right now, like and I know that maybe it's not a fair question. Right now, Kyle, you can have another pour. What pour are you taking?
Right in this very instant, I'll do the on Cladach.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not, if it were colder outside and that sort of a thing felt like, if there were some Christmas lights in here, 1,000% all day long.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a little lighter, a little fruitier. I'll take the on Cladach.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm there with you. And for literally the exact same reason. Not that I don't want something that's peated, but right now I just don't want something that's peated.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Yep.
Freaking great. But it's just not quite the proper thing. Every once in a while it is, though.
Yeah.
Every once in a while at night, I'll stumble into the library and think, God, I do. I need something smoky right now. But when there's a chill in the air, and I walk into the library, 9 times out of 10, I want a little something. I want a little something smoky.
But I'll say this: out of the two, I find the Cruach Mhona more interesting.
I think it's more complex.
Yes.
I think just the addition of the peat makes it a little more. There's something else happening in there.
Yeah, but man,
for sure.
What finds? Because that's fantastic.
Yeah,
both of them. Well, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, we could continue to talk about our travels, and I'm sure it'll pop up at some point.
There's a great article that I keep wanting to go back that was in the New Yorker. It was a case against travel.
Against travel?
Yeah, and I'm really interested to read it to see like what was that hot take.
Okay.
I need to go back and find it now though.
Well, we'd like to know what you think about the Bunnahabhain on Cladach and
the Bunnahabhain Conchvona.
You see what I did there?
Yeah,
I totally. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. We also want to know about your travel experiences.
Yeah, what have you done this summer? Where are you going?
What have you been doing?
What you did? I know what you did last summer. I want to know what you're doing this summer.
Okay. Yeah. Where have you been? Like, what'd you do? Where have you traveled? Is it the?
It ain't been Disney World. Don't tell me that. Ain't nobody there.
Maybe you've traveled to Arizona.
Maybe
you've traveled to Italy.
Australia.
Maybe you've traveled to Australia.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
It's probably nice and chilly down there right now.
Ooh, that's the thing. We got to go to the Southern Hemisphere now, man.
I know, man. I that's what I was saying the other day. Like, I can't believe I've never been to the Southern Hemisphere.
No, it's on the list.
New Zealand and Australia.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Well, you can get in touch with us through email. It's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word. DREP and Stone. You can find us wherever you like to socialize your medias.
That's pretty
literally anywhere.
Yeah. And you can support the podcast in a couple of different ways. The first is just tell someone about Drepandstone. Hey, I saw that Drepandstone was talking about the Bunnahabhains. I love Bunnahabhain. Check it out too.
Have you ever had Bunnahabhain? You haven't? We should go buy a bottle of Bunnahabhain and listen to what they think about it.
Exactly.
They seem to really like it.
Exactly. You can also support the podcast through our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Drepandstone. Helps keep the fan running and the recording machines recording.
Yeah, on that tape.
Yeah.
Filming it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finally, you can rate Drepandstone wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. Helps really get the word out to a bunch of different people.
All over the world.
All over the world. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May our glass overflow?
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Is that why they're moist?
Yeah.
Goo gross.
Juicy.
You know what I mean.
What you done found? Hey, man, you found it. Obviously. Gotta go in the Bunnahabhain Glengarry.
Just smack myself in the face with a mic.
I'm like, here we go.
Yeah, no, it's Bunnahabhain. It's just gonna bloop. God, that is. Listen,
I said, listen. Chocolate raisins right there. Take a whiff of that.
I'll do it.
6. Ooh, and it's at red on the battery.
Bars, dropping bars. Is that what the kids say these days? Nah, shit. Now that I've spoken it into existence.
I've said the thing. So, interesting. Never mind.
No, go ahead.
It's not really anything to do with anything.
Okay.